Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're talking about a feeling that, if you're a gamer, you've definitely had it. It's that precise moment when a really fun, tough challenge just crosses a line, and suddenly it's pure controller-throwing frustration. So where is that line? And what can we learn about making better games by looking at it?
Okay, so let's get right into it. We're going to follow one player's very raw and real journey with a game called the Arisen. His experience is basically the perfect case study. It really shows the huge difference between a challenge that feels good to overcome and what Japanese gamers call rpgmaker, which basically means an unreasonable, almost illogical level of difficulty, the kind that just feels like the game is cheating you. So the first huge wall our player hits isn't some terrifying monster. Nope, it's just math. We'll call this the endless grind. This is where playing the game feels less like a cool adventure and a lot more like a really boring job. And right there, that quote, that is the heart of a bad grind. It's not about having to work hard. It's that feeling that the time and the effort you're putting in, it just isn't being respected by the game. The reward just feels completely out of whack with the amount of repetition you have to do. And here it is, the reward. After a genuinely tough fight, using up items, taking damage, the player gets a measly 18 gold. This one little number shows a massive problem in the game's design. The effort is huge, and the reward is tiny. It just makes any sense of progress feel completely pointless. And this table really just lays out the math behind the misery, right? To get even one basic, essential upgrade, our guy's looking at doing the same battle over and over and over again. We're talking more than a dozen times. That's not gameplay anymore. It's just a monotonous chore, and it absolutely kills the pacing of the game. So, what's the fix? Well, the point isn't to just make games super easy or get rid of grinding completely. It's about making sure the progression feels meaningful. The reward has to feel like it matches the effort. That way, the player feels like their time is actually valued, and they can feel themselves getting stronger with every fight. Okay, so on top of that grind, let's move on to problem number 2, because it all starts to stack up. We'll call this unkind guidance. This is when a game just doesn't give you the crucial info you need to actually succeed, which of course leads to wasted time, aimless wandering, and a whole lot of frustration.
I mean, you can just hear the confusion in his voice. He's been given a quest, get a fire staff, but he has absolutely no clue how to do it. So he's just left guessing, running around to shops, questioning every single item. This isn't a fun puzzle to solve, it's just a straight-up lack of information.
And this kind of thing leads to a feeling that you're not fighting the game's enemies, you're fighting the game's menus and its confusing systems. Instead of thinking strategically, you're just forced into this boring loop of trial and error, and it just completely burns you out. The solution here is really all about respecting the player's time and their intelligence. See, good guidance doesn't just hold your hand the whole way. It empowers you. It gives you the information you need to solve the problem for yourself, which makes that final victory feel earned, not like you just stumbled into it. And this brings us to the biggest issue of all, the one where all this frustration just boils over, the unfair difficulty spike. You know this moment. It's when a game throws a challenge at you that feels less like a fair test of your skills and more like a punishment. So our player, after all those hours of grinding we talked about, he finally gets to a boss fight against this lich, and he feels ready. He's leveled up, he bought some new gear, but the second the fight begins, everything just goes completely sideways. Right away, the boss pulls out a brand new trick. He starts spawning endless smaller enemies, and it just completely shuts down the player's entire strategy. It feels so unfair because there was no way to see it coming. The game never taught him how to deal with something like this. It just dropped him right in the fire. And this is the breaking point. After failing again, where all his strategy and preparation mean nothing, the player's whole approach just shifts. He's not trying to outsmart the game anymore. He completely gives up on finding a clever solution. And there it is. That's the ultimate failure of this game's design. The challenge was so unreasonable, so refugine, that it pushed the player away from trying to play skillfully and forced him right back to the most boring solution possible, that endless, mind-numbing grind we started with. Look, a great, memorable challenge, it tests the skills the game has already taught you. It pushes you to combine those skills in new, creative ways. When you fail, you learn something.
An unfair spike doesn't care about that learning process. It just demands more of your time, not more of your skill. So, what have we learned from watching this player's slow descent into total frustration? It shows that things like grinding, vague quests, or high difficulty, they aren't automatically bad. It all comes down to finding a very, very delicate balance. I think the big thing you should take away from this is that the best games, they manage to walk this incredibly thin tightrope. They keep you in that perfect zone, that flow state, where the challenge is just high enough to be exciting, but not so high that it's overwhelming. They make you want to get better, not just give up. It's really something to think about, right? The next time you pick up a controller and you're facing something that seems impossible, ask yourself, what's the real difference between a boss you can't wait to fight again and one that just makes you want to turn the whole thing off for good? Thanks for watching.